Hello and good afternoon, good morning, whatever time you're at. I'm here with Dr. Larry Goodman. How you doing, Larry?
Welcome to Fridays with Goodman.
We are here with Fridays with Goodman, and
Today's Friday.
And it's literally Friday today. Usually we pre-record, but welcome to Fridays with Goodman. Episode 9 today, we wanted to discuss reviewing the year. We wanted to go into setting the goals and an objective for you're just setting up objectives for 2021 coming up. So what is your process, and what do you have in mind when you tell your own clients that you coach, or what is your process in reviewing for the year?
So in reviewing for the year, the first thing that needs to be done for everyone is to acknowledge yourself for a job well done. And hopefully you actually mean it. And by that, what I mean is, a year ago now, if you were a client of mine and were being coached, or if you were being coached anywhere, you set goals for the year. And over the course of the year, progressively, you made notes on what worked and what didn't, what worked and what didn't, and got to see and learn lessons about how to plan for the year to come. Now, this year in particular, since it is 2020, if anybody can remember way back when to March, we had an unforeseen event take place. An invisible invader, an invisible virus came along and created a series of unforeseen, unpredictable, and really, as we've come to understand, no practical way to plan for them in a way that didn't disrupt your goals.
Right.
Now, what that created for many people was and is even now a sense of anxiety, a sense of depression. Some people have responded to it by overeating, by difficulty sleeping, by all of the cardinal signs and symptoms of unmet goals and being out of control and being overwhelmed. Here's the point and the lesson, though, is one of the valuable opportunities to learn is to not be attached to your outcomes. Now, this may sound paradoxical as we're getting ready to plan and review and prepare for next year, but if you experienced enough of the signs and symptoms of being too attached to outcomes, then you could develop a whole new skill. You could still set goals. They could still determine your actions, but you could be less attached to how the outcome turns out, which ultimately really gives you more resilience and more freedom. Right. So I'm quite sure that nobody who is going to see this video envisioned a global shutdown of the economy, envisioned this virus still going on, envisioned any of, and we could talk and do a whole seminar on all of the things that took place that nobody planned for, that weren't on anybody's to-do list, that weren't on anybody's goals for 2020.
Right.
In fact, you could become so frustrated and overwrought that the prospect of setting goals for 2021 could become a colossal, what the heck should I bother for? I did it in 2020, and what difference did it make?
Right. Well, there's also in two scenarios, right? Like, to break it down, to give that overview, is that we have March came, that then they said 2-week lockdown, right? Which is up until now.
15 days to flatten the curve.
15 days. And then from there, some gradual things happen. Wear your mask, wear your thing. No one went to the supermarkets. It was, we
and
went to the
get
supermarket.
the toilet paper. They
Yeah,
went to
everyone
the supermarket
called
to
the
get
toilet
the
paper.
toilet paper.
Yeah, so it was chaos in a sense for a lot of people, and if you watch the news, it's even worse chaos. Luckily, we just have Netflix, but social media does just as bad a job as getting you fear-based and crazy. But the point is I think there's two ways in reviewing the year too, because through our methodologies and your coaching and my, it's a certain kind of growth mindset per se and rituals that I had in place, and us doing these Zoom calls for the last 2 or 3 years, even beforehand, is like our plan in the way that we've been doing things led us to this is like business as usual in a sense. We didn't lose our house, we didn't leave our thing. We were kind of doing that laptop lifestyle, right? And
you get to have business as usual when, paradoxically, you have your goals, but you're not attached to them, and you're able to respond in now without, and the big thing for people is whatever the trigger is that causes people to, there's no glamorous way to describe it except to say people freak out.
they do.
They freak out, and what the freak out looks like is, among other things, as we were speaking about a few minutes ago, they buy out the toilet paper. They buy out the canned goods. There's no rhyme or reason or rationale to their purchases. There's no rhyme or reason or rationale to their behavior either. And the worst part of it is that they stop trusting themselves. They stop trusting their systems. I was on the call with a client earlier today. They've weathered the roughest of the storm from the year. They're ending the year on a very positive note. And the owners of the company are still noticing that there's a high level of anxiety within the employees and members of the company, even though they're already over the worst of the worst. And so what we wound up talking about was, what do you do about the toxic residue, the post-traumatic stress disorder that's the result of the unforeseen happening? And so we devised and developed a workshop and a program to enable them to find the original event, let go of the significance that they gave to even the original event, recognize that even though they didn't achieve the goal they set out to, they've still got, as you're describing it accurately, you still have a roof over your head, you still have food to eat, you still have clothing on your back, you still have clients in a place to do business. So if you could keep your head while those around you are losing theirs, and if you practice many, many different things like breath work, like Wim Hof breath work, like meditation, any things to do to reestablish a sense of auto-regulation within yourself, you will regain your footing so that you can set goals for next year gently for yourself, in accordance with the idea that literally the language of it becomes, I'm okay whether I meet the goal or I don't.
Yeah.
I set up the systems and take the actions with the goal in mind of meeting my goals, and recognize full well that as the days progress, I may have to change either the goal or the plans or both. And that's okay. From that, you cultivate resilience.
With that being said, going into the next thing, 2021 happened. There's an experience for everybody, and everybody that was inexperienced.
2021 hasn't happened.
I'm sorry, 2020 happened, and it's an experience, right? I mean, and the majority of the people I asked, and including yourself, was like, we had never gone through this situation. You know, this is not something that, you know, because usually events can happen and we go, well, so-and-so, and that happened in the 70s, this happened in the 80s. This was like a learning experience across the board. So that being said, we have to like clear this kind of slate, gain this experience, see what's like the thing you always tell me where you have to just see what helped us, what supported us through this, what was the better things in order to get
what worked, what didn't.
Mm-hmm.
What was the lesson? What was the payoff? What was the benefit?
What was the benefit? Having that clear, that's how we go into a better state of mind of setting goals.
Yes.
To 2021, right?
And especially if you install it as a habit that you do daily. I cannot tell you how many people working with them over the course of the year, what it took to get them back on track was going back to the time when they threw their self-discipline out the window and said some variation of the form of, you know, what the heck, what's the point, I don't care anymore. And when that happens, when you become uncoupled and untethered, the 1 minute becomes a day, becomes a week, becomes a month, and before you know it, you can't fit into your pants anymore.
Right.
Before you know it, you've lost whatever the footing was that you've worked your entire life to establish.
Yeah.
And then it really starts to feel hopeless. And all you really need to be reminded of is you didn't give it all up in one fell swoop. You gave up the discipline one little tiny bite-sized piece at a time. And that's the way you regain it as well.
Yeah.
One little tiny bite-sized piece at a time, you begin to re-establish the discipline. So back to the goal setting part of the thing, if somebody hadn't exercised since the COVID started, because the gyms got locked down and whatever the story is that came up, that got to be the reason why, the solution is take a walk for 10 minutes today. And tomorrow do 10 minutes. And do 10 minutes every day for a week. And then the next week do 11 minutes. And so little by slowly you start to regain your balance and equanimity, but doing it with little tiny bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
What everybody is feeling right now, a lot of, that's got people triggered, is all of this that's going on is nothing that anybody planned for, and nobody can see the way back to normal. Now, for anybody who's read our book, you know I'm an advocate of the fact that normal is nothing more than the setting on a washing machine. So if you aspire to be back to normal, I invite you to consider that whatever that normal is that you made up, you probably really wouldn't be best served to go back there again now. And so even in your conscious languaging, I listen and hear people say in our coaching, am I ever going to get back to whatever? And my answer, which seems harsh at the time, is give it up. You're never going to get back. And then first they get a little upset, but then with clarity, what you come to realize is today is the only December 11th, 2020 you're going to get.
True.
You're not going to turn that clock back. Even though some time ago, many moons ago, I had a full head of hair and it wasn't gray, and et cetera things. The truth is, this is the only today you're going to get. And the most meaningful way to set goals is to have them be reality-based, to have them be based upon what you know the circumstances to be in this now.
Yeah.
And if you can embrace this now as the best now you're going to get, and if you cannot get sucked into the remorse and the mourning over what you thought you had that you lost, because that's the big deal, is mourning what you thought you had that you lost, and the self-recrimination and blaming that goes along with that, instead of finding the blessing, finding the lesson, finding the opportunity in what now is, and from being grateful for this present moment of now, you're in an optimal condition to set realistic goals based on what's now. And that's the way you use goal setting to solve that problem.
A lot of the goal setting involves a lot of self-reflection, a lot of writing down, a lot of, taking the time that a lot of people, take for granted, right? They say they never have time, but if you separate the time of them getting home and Netflixing and doing all the things in their house and the things that we just waste time with, there is time. So it's about making time, writing this stuff down, doing the work. But what do you say to a lot of these clients that say, like, it's all in my head and I can just do this and nothing gets done really that way?
The last client I was working with right before we started recording this podcast was telling me all about how he couldn't stand the time that he had to waste to do this record-keeping procedure. It was such a waste of time. We've had this exact conversation, this client and I, about how he felt about this record-keeping procedure over the course of the year, probably a half a dozen times. And I pointed that out to him. And he said, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And I said, if you took the time that you spend complaining about what it is you don't want to do and just did it and got it done, become a member of the One and Done Club, you'd be amazed how much more you'll get done and how much more accomplished you'll feel. So that's the way you solve that one. Or you get a coach, or you attend. We're going to be doing a bunch of really great workshops into the new year, all designed to make 2021 be your goodest year ever. Because, listen, everybody needs a reboot. I would say that in the course of this year, it would be an accurate assessment to say, I haven't met or worked with a client who, if they're being completely honest, can say, 2020 was awesome. Everything turned out exactly the way I hoped that it would. And I can't wait for 2021 so I can have more of what I got in 2020.
Right.
Haven't heard that once.
I'm pretty close to being one of your clients there. I'm pretty close to it.
Okay, well, good.
Obviously it had its up and down. I'm saying any of those, and there's been some weird times, but overall the year has been pretty awesome, pretty amazing.
And the reason for that is we applied the tools, and that's really the place I want to give people hope, give people vision, give people a sense of renewed opportunity that even though it didn't go exactly the way you thought it was supposed to, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And if you'll see it that way and be grateful for it, talk about a habit that people dropped when the going got tough. Gratitude lists. I am a religious believer in the discipline of gratitude journaling daily. As my mentor, John DeMartini, puts it so eloquently, what you think about and what you thank about, you do bring about.
Right.
So whatever it is, if you can find something great about it, which is why, start the day with that affirmation. Something great is going to happen to me today. I know for certain, as you and I are having this conversation, that the reason why things turned out for you the way that they did, and you feel about them the way that you feel about them, is because you've been a good student, because you've been a good follower of instructions, because you've applied the discipline, and it works. It really does.
It really does. So what's a good starter, kind of like in the simplest format, to write down some sort of goals, like put down 1 to 5, like we're coming up.
Get a clean new notebook. Wipe the slate clean. Make 2021 your goodest life. And then re-look and revisit your values. Take a look and see, because if you're human and you've been paying attention in the course of the year, things have taken place, which if you're honest with yourself and you reflect, you'll find that some of your values may have changed, that you may really have gotten clarification on your values.
I feel like on top of changing, they reorder.
Yes.
They reorder, in my sense. I had like 6 top ones, and they start, especially, I don't have a family now, but I'm sure that family would go up on the list. You know what I mean? Like now it's like fitness there and there. It's so everybody's values, I think, can change based upon the listing of them.
So yes. So the opportunity of the winding down of 2020 and the preparation for 2021 is to pause and reflect and redo a values determination process, whether it's Dr. John DeMartini's on his website, or you can go to goodmanfactor.com and get the wheel and the 11-question values determination exercise that we do. That's also available in the book, Fridays with Goodman. The point is, take the time, pause and reflect, and plan and prepare to make 2021 extraordinary.
There is
that's the way to start.
Putting pen to paper. I mean, I did it the other day myself, and I sat down with my girlfriend, and we did it. It's late at night. We did like one show on Netflix, and we're like, all right, next thing, we shut it off, and we're doing this, and she kept writing it on, and she felt so good afterwards, and we have like a whole plan kind of set up for where she wants to go, what she wants to do, and seeing her values and seeing her, even all the way to the point of legacy. You can go that far, but this thing is just concentrating on just certain goals, keep them attainable, non-fantasy, and find accountability at the end of the day. Even get an uncle or an aunt or your loved one or someone that you trust to say, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Or at the last resort, you don't have anybody set alert on your phone. I think it's the best way to put for 2 days from now, alert me to do this, sit down and do this. So we have to put in the work. It's the only way. There's no shortcuts, no matter what. I've tried so many of these shortcuts and, get rich quick schemes, all this stuff. I never really did those, but I tried. I saw the videos on how they were trying to do it before they took your money. They don't work. At the end of the day, you have to put in the real work, know yourself, write down these goals. And that's what's worked for me. And, the rituals as well, morning rituals. A lot of this stuff you can find in the book. You can find it also on goodmanfactor.com. And then there's a book section, and we have a bunch of PDFs and stuff there that we already done in the book that can help you as well. And you can print these out. John,
we're here to help. That's the bottom line. I want everybody who's watching this, A, to be on the lookout for future Fridays with Goodman.
Right.
B, be on the lookout for programs coming. And C, make it your goodest life. You still have the power, even though it's already December 11th, 2020. As my good friend Martin has reminded me from time to time over the year, regardless of the situation, regardless of how it feels, you got this.
You got this.
You got this.
All right, let's have your goodest life. For more information, you can see below. I always have that at goodmanfactor.com. You can also check out our book on Fridays with Goodman on Amazon.com. And any coaching one-on-one, you can also go to goodmanfactor.com and you have there's a little sign-in thing there to find different times and set up a time to talk to Dr. Larry Goodman. And moving forward, we're doing projects called Your Pivotal Moments, Your Goodest Life, online programs, and we're also having our 12 modules.
Be on the lookout for challenges, be on the lookout for opportunities, be on the lookout for growth.
Yes.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, everybody watching.
Have a great Friday. Take care, guys. Bye.
All right.